Yo, welcome everyone to our second little call-in episode here on the Meme Young Patreon Discord chat thingy. Appreciate you guys hanging out over here. I just want to get right to it. What we'll do is we'll just go through folks based on order here, and I'll have you guys introduce yourself not by your Discord name, just go by your first name, and then hopefully our connections stay good enough that we can just chat. And then I'll get to the written questions too, if there's any in the chat. So, fucking cool guy. The greatest.
What's up?
The greatest Discord name of all time. Tell us who you actually are and where you're calling from.
Put in a lot of effort for this Discord name. I think my audio's coming through your speakers a little bit.
Oh, it is? Hold on. Let me turn down the my input a little bit because it's coming through my mic.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just turn down my monitors a little bit. I just want to be able to hear you. Keep talking.
Hello.
Is that better?
Let me see. Yeah, that's a little bit better.
That's a little bit better. I'll try not to have as much feedback on your end. Thankfully, it's not recording with any on my end, so
okay.
That's
sweet.
how I'm judging going by. So tell us, who are you?
Okay, my name's Kelton, actually, and I'm calling from around Sydney, Australia.
Kelton from around Sydney, Australia. How you doing, man?
Yeah. I'm doing well.
Awesome.
I'm currently working night shift, and it's 4:06 a.m.
Oh, jeez.
But it's crisp.
Where are you working
and
the nights?
I'm doing like disability care, so I'm just chilling in the office and taking it easy.
Working for public or private?
It's like a non-for-profit government-funded organization. Yeah,
NGO.
That's the one.
Right, got you. Well, that sounds like a good cause, even if it's at a bad time.
Yeah, no, it's got its perks for sure.
Got you. At least you can feel gratified about what it's working towards, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of disability music education work with the same type of situation, like non-for-profit organizations in New York working with adults with intellectual disabilities, and that's how I got really into like teaching music tech for not your average sort of student body, you know, thinking about.
Yeah, that'd be a good experience.
Yeah,
I do have a few friends that do that type of music therapy.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because music therapy is like, you're like, there's such a, like any academia, like you have to like go through the ringer of getting your license, and there's like very kind of traditional ways of doing it. And like, I see a lot of resistance with the like technology side of what you could do with music therapy and music technology. Cause like in any music academia, there's resistance towards new shit, you know?
Most definitely. Yeah.
But hopefully that changes. I don't know too much about the music therapy stuff because they always, I always got like, you're not a music therapist, you're an educator. Like the people that are really, really like nitpicky about like the terminology behind it. It's so weird.
Yeah. You're not fixing my low vibrational frequencies.
Exactly. So what's going on with you? I know, Kelton, you gave us a fucking banger last group critique class, which was fucking dope. And obviously was able to use my reaction to that as further advertisement for the Patreon.
Perfect. I'm glad.
Hey man, I only react to that shit when I think I've gotten up out of my chair like 3 times over the course of the entire series. So good on you.
I got a chair get up.
Exactly.
It's a special thing.
Exactly. So what's going on? What's your question for today?
My question, I'm not gonna lie, I just jumped in the Discord without too much prep
Well, we're
at
chatting.
all.
We're chatting.
Just to chat, but my question
It could be about anything. It could just be a topic too. That's all we're doing here is just having conversations.
Well, right now, I guess what I'm going through is I'm going through the entire like catalog of music I've made in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to, I basically put it into different folders of like, what do I want to release this under, like, because I'm running a few different projects.
Right.
So I guess it's just like, I'm having trouble finding what fits in what project and whether to even bother,
Yeah.
like pushing certain projects in like in a sense, some things I just want to release anonymously and some things I just want to actually push like commercially.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because it's like when you start thinking in projects, like I used to be like, I obviously like, I make music under like one name now. Sorry, I'm just plugging in my headphones. I want to go in-ear monitor here. I used to do like the Parrotski project, which is kind of my umbrella for everything now. But I used to be, even like 4 or 5 years ago, very kind of conservative with like what sound went with what project, because I was in like a band that was doing kind of future funk live electronic, but also relatively weird experimental funk music, I guess would be the word. And that kind of had its own sound that obviously hold on. Yo, Ellis, turn your mic off. Mute yourself, my friend. Sorry, I could do that myself, but I didn't want to. I thought that was me because my speaker's been making mad feedback recently. So I used to have like a project called the Pluto Moons that was like my band material that I would be like, if I'm writing pop music, it's going to be this in this outlet, right? And then like there are also moments where I was improvising on my own, but having like rhythm, not like noise free improvised music, but like, like techno or like some sort of like rhythmic electronic music,
like acid housey kind of
some sort of dance stuff, anything that wasn't like noise related or ambient situation. That was
a bit more like straightforward stuff.
Yeah, but it was made just by me. That was put into one category of another project. And then if I was just the composer, improviser, experimentalist, it would be Max Alper, right? And that got like kind of exhausting, thinking about like stylistically, like what to release and what not to release based under what project name, or if the project should even exist or if you should just be absorbed under something else, To me, I feel like at this point, like I was told under different people to like, if you're going to do one thing under one name, make it that one thing. And like,
for sure,
become really known for that one thing, which
kind of just like narrow in.
Yeah, I mean, which obviously has its merits, right? Like if you're like an instrumentalist with like a very unique style or virtuosity to you, that becomes very marketable. You know what I mean? Like, Greg Fox makes amazing music on the synthesizer, but like we know him first and foremost as the drummer Greg Fox, because like he blows everyone out of the water on the kit, you know, first and foremost. So but he's a good example. I don't know if he'll pop in on the chat or not, but he'll probably listen later. But you know, like he's a great example of someone who started making a name for themselves doing something very, very specific that became marketed as such under different projects, but was allowed him under his own name to become associated with a sound or a thing. And that over like a decade or whatever can end in the result of which now he can make his own solo records with, like, one of them was like almost like just psychedelic rock made with like MIDI triggers, and the other ones are like solo drum improvisation, very textural stuff. And then some of the other ones are like modular, ambient, like totally just electronic, not even drum related music. And we can, I guess because he did the grind for so long under one thing, or becoming associated for one thing, at least, because marketing is sometimes out of our control, and like press and things like that. But he did get like best drummer in New York City in the Village Voice when the Village Voice still existed, you know, like that's something that like in New York, at least, like they give out to like the heaviest hitters, mostly experimental weirdos, but like that puts you on a path that you become known for, at least in like New York circles. So like you do, but that was like a decade ago or whatever. So like, you know, you do that sort of grind long enough, I feel like people will be accepting towards whatever sound you want to make under your name, you know, whether it is your pop music, whether it is like free jazz, whatever. I mean, like, even I would say like, to become known as a person that just does eclectic shit under one project name has its own merits in that way. Because like,
definitely,
you can just be known as the person that does lots of cool shit. You know, like if you released a record that had like an EP, 4-track EP that had like, and I don't know what other type of music you've been making besides that, you know, 90s R&B instrumental. But if you had anything that wasn't more of that sound in an EP sort of presentation, 4 or 5 tracks, that would throw people for a loop, because they're, you know, you could hit them with a single like that. But what if you just had like an ambient track after that with no drums or whatever, you know, like if you're just a producer making whatever type of music you want under your own name, it's like some people will seek cohesive consistency in like style in genre, but other people will be like, oh shit, like this guy can do lots of stuff, and they'll appreciate that. So it's more, what do you want people to know about you? And it's hard to box yourself in as one thing. So at this point, I'm just like, fuck it, put it all under one project. Like I'm too old to like market multiple things beyond like, especially like the meme page too, you know? So it's like, if I'm making music or art, I'm just putting it under one name now. It doesn't matter if it's techno, ambient, harsh noise, free improv, field recordings, fuck it. That's just where I'm at now. But I'm also not like, I'm not shopping it to labels or playing the game. I mean, none of us are touring. None of us are touring right now, anyways. But like, I wouldn't be touring. I don't really like touring. Like, I haven't toured in like about 5 years or something. It's mostly just been like, I'll go to a place and play a show while I'm like on vacation or visiting somewhere, do like a residency at some DIY situation. But you know, obviously we're all online right now, so you could absolutely look at your discography, bringing it back to like reflecting on your discography of 2020 or whatever, made in quarantine. And if it doesn't sound like cohesive to you in one style or sound, you know, genre, whatever, maybe find like the what makes it cohesive to you, like emotionally, or or reflect on what you were feeling at the time of making it, regardless of what it sounded like, and think about like maybe if you're going to publish something or release it, it could be like a collection of ideas that fall under a certain emotion made in quarantine, you know, because there's so much shit coming out. There's so much stuff coming out, and we're all in the same situation. And some people are making like very upbeat, you know, like I feel like distraction type music that like might be used to like use as an escape of like the shitty situation we're all in. But other people are going, other people are embracing the darkness and making, you know, much more melancholic or what you would consider, you know, music appropriate.
Like cathartic.
Cathartic for the sake of like embracing this sort of isolation, you know. I'm doing a bit of both. I mean, we're all isolated, but, you know, sometimes, I don't know. I also just have been mostly in like one zone sonically for the past year, at least just making like spacey, sleepy stuff, because I'm just like a spacey and sleepy guy. Not really trying.
Yeah, matches up well.
I haven't been doing live shows, which is where I'll get crazier and do like much more sweaty shit. So like I'm at home. I'm not screaming if I don't have an audience.
You're not feeding that energy.
Yeah, exactly. You know exactly what I'm saying. Hold on, I gotta let my cat out.
Yeah.
You can hear him in the background. Hold on. Ooh, get out of here. Get out. This dang cat. But anyways, that's an interesting question, because like people put so much pressure on themselves with project idea, right?
Definitely.
Because, I mean, you could consciously do it because you want to be in this industry commercially, professionally, or whatever, and you need to be marketable under one thing, you know.
That's most definitely a thing.
I just gave up on trying to be like in a marketable project beyond like the last band I was in, just because, and I got exhausted with it, you know. I fully admit that I gave up on like trying the touring musician, gigging musician grind like half a decade.
I feel like it's definitely, definitely worth trying, and there's definitely no wrong in shooting your shot in that respect and seeing if you like it, and, you know, seeing if it does gain some type of momentum or consistency, because you know,
exactly, it's always like 5 years ago, it was 10 years ago when that started, when that project started, you know, so like like think about how much shit has changed since then in the quote unquote industry, right? And like, you know, and obviously in the past year how much shit has, you know, changed in this sort of way, and in all industries, you know, like everything is digitized. But like I've been like obsessed with watching T-Pain's Twitch music stream that he does, where it's just his studios. It's incredible, because that's the educational content that inspires me for here, you know, because he's just like taking questions and has like all this shit, you know, and he's making, I mean, he doesn't need the money, but he has that as his replacement of touring income right now, is just twitching and having subscribers and all that shit. And, you know, it's just times
a few producers have really tapped into that whole Twitch thing. I mean, you got Disclosure, and
oh really? Yeah,
has massively gone into the whole Twitch thing, just doing just showing how they make their tracks and
tutorials,
being like
and just
incredibly like transparent as well.
Yeah, I love
which has been really,
it's open studios,
really educational.
It's open studios, right? Like there's
would get so many people into producing.
Exactly. I love that. I mean, like there are certain artists that can, you know, teaching artists, let's say, that like they don't even necessarily need to teach, they just need to be transparent in their process, and that's like more than enough. Like I was fucking in undergraduate, I did like a year of private lessons with Morton Subotnick, like OG OG synthesizer guru, and like not gonna say that he's an amazing professor. Love the music, very nice guy, but like the most I got out of him to help my own process was just like asking him like, how would you do this? And him just showing me like with his like ancient Buchla setup at home, like, and I wasn't even a modular person at that time. I had no idea what he was doing. It was just looking for like the sound that was coming out of it and him describing his process verbally. That shit is, that is some of the best education you can get. So like with Twitch and screen sharing, these artists who aren't touring, who have paying fans that would, gladly pay hundreds of dollars to see them live once a year at least, these big time Disclosure, T-Pain, these are people that don't need money in the
most definitely,
in the long game, because they've, as we know from T-Pain's channel, like he tells you how to invest. Like he's like, this is business moves. He shows how he's held on to his money.
You see Soulja Boy's Twitter at all?
No.
He's there every day, like, how do we do crypto?
Oh my God.
He's like, who can help me with crypto?
It's pretty classic, man. Akon's been on that for a while too, but now he's being accused of like just doing like classic colonial shit in his own home country, like teaming with like,
they love that hustle.
Teaming with like, minerals extraction companies for the sake of like building blockchain technology in, West and Central Africa. I'm like, oh my God, bro.
Fuck.
There's no end in sight.
Giving back to the culture.
That's right. Like even Akon can be a libertarian imperialist too. Whatever. Anyways, thanks, Kelton. That was a just good ass question related to projects and shit. I fucking,
no worries, man. No worries at all.
I hope that helps to some regard. But you should just come out with like, even if you can't come up with a like one album idea. Like I like just, I've always been, press export, like finish it, right? Not perfect, just finish it, because you're not going to go back to it and it's really not going to get any better the more you fiddle with it. So like, even if you just come up with like 2020 catalog and it's just like a mixtape of your greatest hits of 2020 that just make you
2020's greatest hits.
2020's greatest hits that do nothing.
That's what it's going to be called.
That have nothing to do with each other except they make you feel good looking back on them. Like, I don't know. It's worth doing something with it, because like obviously we're all prone to just letting like the bounces pile up in the hard drive and collecting,
and they're all fucking
collecting digital
terribly
dust.
Named.
Well, yeah, they're all just
terribly named, and you're going through it and you're thinking, what the fuck is Awesome Song 37? I don't remember this at all.
I stopped naming it. I just have a date catalog now. And it's useless to have it's useless to have a date catalog, because the fucking computer shows me the date of when it was made.
Yeah, literally. But I mean, at least it's like I just usually put in like the first artist that I think of that it kind of sounds like, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think I got to a point where I got together like a few different like projects and been like, okay, I could release these all under the same project. But what I tend to do a lot is I'll be making like my main stuff, which is kind of like disco, R&B, kind of that vibe. And then when I want to cool off from that stuff, when I'm like sick of it, I'll just make like drum and bass or like UK garage and stuff. So that's how I've ended up with like a lot of like different shit, or like that 90s, like that like a lot of that stuff, and a lot of like trap beat maker type shit.
It's so interesting.
That's how I've ended up with this big mix of shit.
It's so interesting hearing the specifically the R&B, the 90s R&B, because it's so so it was your track was so West Coast like specific, like, and I made the joke a few times of GTA San Andreas, but like that's not.
I've had a few friends like literally say the exact same thing.
Yeah,
exact same thing, and that's what I was going for. That is 100% what the vision for the track was.
Totally. No, and that's absolutely.
So I'm glad it translated.
Yeah, no, and I think that was it's just so funny because like we're in the internet age and we're in the video game age. So like someone from from Sydney can tap into a entire like sound era that is so geographically not where
different.
You're from.
I'm not making surf rock. I'm not making
exactly.
Yeah.
What is 90s Sydney music? I've like popular culture.
It would have been
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Surf rock?
Would have been surf rock. It probably wouldn't have had much of an identity. It would have been a mirror
Club 7.
of whatever
Club 7.
it was. S Club 7. Yeah. I mean, I'm sweet with that.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
That I feel like I would prefer that over 90s alt rock.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad that they're actually Australian. I was waiting for you to correct me if they were like New Zealander or something. Does the S stand for Sydney?
S Club 7.
Don't even look it up.
That's
don't
a good
bother.
Question.
We're gonna name it.
They're definitely from. I mean, like, Australia is a mirror for like America and UK, and I'm pretty sure they were from London. I'm pretty sure they were from London, but I'll let it slide.
All right, now
I mean, fucking same thing. In a sense, we were. They did
British.
Invade.
Damn it.
/ colonize.
Damn it. So
Australia. So in some sense.
All right. You know, I'm right.
If you really go back to if you take it back to the Middle Ages and you really go back in time, you can draw that connection there.
Exactly. This is how it works when you're a professor.
Absolutely.
When
you
you're
got to start from the core.
Exactly. When you're a professor and you like want to like name off something that you don't necessarily think is 100% true or you're unsure of, get your Google handy off screen and talk your way into the actual truth.
And just inspect element the Wikipedia and
perfect.
Make it back yourself up. That's a good way to do it.
Exactly. Well, on that note,
beautiful.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Keep listening. Who wants to? Someone go in the chat. Jump in the office hours chat. Someone want to say they want to go. We got a few people here. Anybody in the office hours chat? Someone want to just turn their microphone on? They can. Be fucking do 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 do. Yo, Jacob.
Hey, dude.
What's up, Jacob? How are you?
Good, man. It's my first time like really popping into the Discord, actually.
Oh, sick. I'm so glad.
I've just been lurking so far, yeah.
This is like, I hope not too nerve-wracking for anyone, just like, you are the podcast.
Yeah, right.
I hope that's okay. But, we all bask in the shared knowledge. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, totally.
Where you calling from?
I'm calling you from Toronto.
Toronto. What's the temperature there right now?
The temperature is just below freezing.
Nice.
-3, but then we got like radiators in our apartment, and it's the 3rd floor, so it's kind of like a windows open type deal.
Oh wow!
Like windows open and the heat on.
I remember that. I remember that vibe in New York and Boston, because you're like sweaty but also freezing. Like you need a bit of both because we're humans.
Yeah, it's weird for sure. I got a lot out of that, hearing that last back and forth actually about like your philosophy on different artist projects versus like a mixtape and that kind of thing, because I've recently started I guess, yeah, like going through the last couple years of demos,
Mm-hmm.
and most of it I only consider at that point. You know, it's like I don't really want to release any of it yet. I feel like I want to like go through some and like put together a project with some final touches. But I think part of me is like I want to put more work into that, but I want to have something to show like right away, and I'm not really sure like how much I should rush myself, I guess.
Right. I mean, I guess it's like if they're demos, I mean, so demos in the sense that like they're sketches that could be re-recorded with more technical precision, or they're like unmixed raw that could be mixed into a final draft.
I think some of them are like that, and like most of them need more sound design or like session work, like real bass playing kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, the concern for me when it comes to that sort of stuff is just like you wait too long, I lose interest like in my own shit. You know, like it becomes tedious in the sense that like I'm just not necessarily interested. I like aesthetically, you know, I'm just so ADHD in all regards. So like if you know, one season I'm into this sound, doing this one software, like maybe this is my virtual month or my modular month or whatever, you know. So I understand the need or feeling to want to like put something out and move on, or at least have something to show for it in the meantime as you work towards something bigger or expand the project or what have you. But, you know, I guess start from not the where it's at in the recording technical process, but start from the, like I had mentioned with Kelton, like especially if it's more recent stuff and you can really remember like the writing process behind it, like how it makes you feel first and foremost, like, because there's so much of my own shit going back that I'll cringe at, even if it's like a month old. You know, like I just was recording like an improv thing and I was feeling whatever, or, you know, I was doing something that I'm just going to scrap. And it's like I don't need 90% of what I record, but like that 10% going back on it, I'm like, fuck yeah, I should do something with this. And I don't necessarily need to record anything else over it. It just needs to be mixed and mastered, post-production process, right? Like you should seek those tracks out first, not even the ones that you feel like you'd have to record more for, but the ones that you think you have your stems. Now you need to put the time in to mix it properly for like presentation. But like from the composition songwriting perspective, you're like, this is where it's at. And like the performance too, like this was a good ass take, you know? Right. But that requires like thinking about it not only from the sound, but like the emo perspective, right? Like what do you associate with this song? You know, because like it could be from, you know, in the most cliche way, like no one wants to listen or work with the materials that they wrote about their ex, right? Mm-hmm. You know, they're going to cringe at the idea, the emotion behind it. Right after that they end it, you know? So it's like, you don't want to have any gut reaction to your previous work. If you have that gut reaction, don't worry about that shit right now. Worry about the stuff that you listen to it and you're like, something is really there and it needs to be refined, but like this is, I guess, this is a worthwhile recording, and this song, you know, this makes you feel a positive knee-jerk reaction, you know?
Yeah.
People have that, you know, you know when you have that response, that serotonin high making music or hearing back yourself, that you're just like, oh, fucking A, I sound dope here.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess picking those out, not really worrying about quantity off the bat, Also,
Yeah.
more about the feeling.
Yeah, because like, who gives a shit if what became of all of your home discography of 2020 is 4 songs? That's an EP, and like sometimes less is more, and it gives you more to worry about with like, how do you present it? Like, maybe now I can spend time like, you know, promoting it to blogs, or, you know, just trying to get other people, you know, DIY marketing methods or whatever. What type of stuff are you making? I know we could just talk about music forever, but you know, it's all in the abstract. What have you been making?
Yeah, totally. And I feel a little like I myself am not even used to talking about it that much yet, so I might stumble over it. I guess I'm coming from like
that's the whole point. That's the whole point of this channel, is literally everyone just getting used to conversing not in a dog eat dog competitive way, because that's like the norm otherwise. You just said, you said you were in more jazz performance, you said?
Yeah, I'm studying trumpet performance.
Nice.
Pretty much a jazz program. And I've played drums for almost as long as trumpet.
Cool. Is this University of Toronto or?
Humber College.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's in Toronto proper, suburbs?
It's in Etobicoke. It's still in Toronto proper. It's in the west end of Toronto.
Are you in the 66666?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Oh yeah.
What's Drake's neighborhood? I know it's a nice one.
Oh, I think I don't
like his mom's neighborhood. I know it's
yeah, I think I don't even know, like North York or something like that. Like
I know it's like literally just like the nice suburban, but still in the city. Anyways.
Yeah. Something like that. Oh yeah.
Anyone brings up Toronto, you know I'm going to bring up Drake.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I listened to like God's Plan for like the first time by myself a few weeks ago, and I was like, shit, it kind of slaps. Like I love
Drake.
Out.
I love Drake. He's a talented, nice Jewish boy chick, you know?
There's a lot more for me to learn about Drake. For sure. I'm not.
I don't actually know anything about the guy, but I love that he named his like box seats booth at the or his like little private club at the Raptors stadium. He named it like Zadie and Bubby's place, which is like Yiddish for grandpa and grandma.
Oh, whoa. Oh, that's cool.
So I told that to my grandma, and she was like, I don't know who Drake is, but that's nice.
I approve. Yeah.
I approve. I think my mom liked that, though.
Just back real quick. Just the
Yeah. No, we ramble. We rambling.
Oh, yeah. No worries. But like trumpet performance, like kind of, you know, bebop theory a little bit. You know, that kind of vibe. I guess the stuff I write is like, would love to be able to play it with like a jazz quartet, like with a small rhythm section and one instrument. But I love, you know, like arrangements for like 2 horns or 3 horns also. So I guess I'm kind of thinking like kind of a neo soul funk instrumental vibe in terms of like a live band show. But I'm not really sure, like, because like rehearsing with people has kind of stopped altogether, so I don't really have that back and forth to kind of influence where I want to go.
Yeah, that's like the most collaborative like requirement if any sort of you know, small ensemble, any improvised type of music.
It seems like the stuff I write without people, just by myself, it's like, you know, programming a bit of drums, playing a little bit of keys and a little bit of keys bass, and it kind of comes across like a kind of, and then I guess like the stock sounds I pick in Logic or whatever, kind of just like Mario Kart vibes a little bit kind of thing. A little bit of like that could be a fantastic thing. Don't like, you know, I don't know.
Depends on what you're going for.
Yeah, Lewis Cole meets Kamasi Washington.
Oh, interesting.
Like, with trumpet, you know?
Yeah, I mean, those are two neither of those are Mario Kart, but I do understand that Lewis Cole uses like 16-bit bass synths, like
Right.
that really just like square wave, that two-handed square mono synth technique with the square wave, just like he's not even using both hands. He's just using like 4 fingers across 2 hands, just like
He's like drumming on the keys.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally how one would describe that, because he's obviously a very rhythmic creature. That Mr. Cole, that whole LA, neo soul, new jazz, like math rock. I mean, personally, I love clowncore. That's my favorite. That's my favorite Lewis Cole project. But that's because I seek the weirdest things of these people. Though I like his solo stuff. I love his solo stuff too. But so that's what you've been on your own, at least, kind of pushing in more of the like jazz trained pop direction.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we can do, at least like as writers and composers with technology at home in isolation. Because like we said, the improvisation is key, the collaborative aspect is key, and it's, if you're not making more experimental like art music, quote unquote, that like doesn't necessarily require you guys to be perfectly in sync with each other, playing rhythmic music over Zoom, collaborating in jazz in that way, I can imagine would be quite difficult, even in a small ensemble. I've seen college ensembles, like big band ensembles, that have directors who conduct as well. And the conductor will make like a selfie video of them conducting to a click in their ear. And will send that to every band member with their part, and they'll record to that conducting video and send their recording back to the conductor, who will piece it together to like a virtual ensemble in post, That's like that's taking advantage of the times to make something presentable, but it's a multi-track recording project. It's not a performance. So I guess I don't know. You tell me, as a performance major, like, would that be is that beneficial if you signed up for an ensemble class during COVID and you've been told like you are now an ensemble member of a studio ensemble? Because that's how they would. If you're not working with like a full live room, you would potentially be recording in parts. I don't know.
I mean, that's how. Full disclosure, I'm actually not a student at school this year.
Oh, okay, cool.
Year off.
Got you.
Yeah, hoping to go
but
back.
someone who's recently involved, yes.
Yeah, like I got my 2 roommates are full time in the program right now. One of them is playing in the what's known as like the A band, the big band. Yeah. And it's just a recording band now.
Yeah.
Like everyone records from homes and then does like they mime the parts for the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the director handles all the post-production.
That like is Eric Whitaker doing the virtual choir with like 4,000 people, like the choir kids all over the world type situation. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
School has to happen remotely. I guess it's more doable than like phys ed. I'm seeing people taking. I guess you could just do like Zumba videos.
I did PE online the summer after grade 10. I was able to. I logged my drumming practice as exercise.
That's legit as hell.
Well, it was mostly legit. I passed the course or whatever. I think they said, you should be doing more variety in your physical activity.
It's like what if the phys ed teacher was like, I need to see more like drum and bass like type tempo from you guys. I need to see proof of sweat with each performance. So like you're gonna have to like start doing some like blast beats, something to really build some endurance. Okay.
I wish there would have been that much feedback.
That would be incredible if the teacher was that aware of what you were doing and like, that's a business.
Yeah, I guess I have a question just like as applied for the group critique sessions and whatnot. Like,
Sure.
Like at what, I guess I'm nervous to send my first thing. Like, at what point should it be something I'm ready to release already myself, or should it be still quote unquote in the works? Like, how should I be approaching that?
All right. Well, first and foremost, don't be nervous. Tell your nerves to take a hike, because this whole, you've seen it yourself. Like this is a constructive only space. It's not no gatekeepers or naysayers or anything like that allowed when it comes to these group critiques. But nervous in the sense that like it's having to engage in something that is very vulnerable. Having to be like come up to the front of the class and present. And no one likes that in general. But like, everyone has to realize that like, if you're able to articulate your work in a way that people will get into your head, at least understand your thought process behind a piece, especially I would say a work in progress, then everybody who's like-minded, which I'm hoping is, all those that sign up for this, will see that we'll at least try to push you in the direction that you are hoping to go. I would say choose something that you are sure of some things but unsure of other things. It's not fully done, not necessarily like this is already out. I mean, people have done that because they just want to hear what people think. But in the more traditional classroom setting of a critical seminar or whatever, these are things that we can take back to the workshop, to the studio, and potentially tweak with certain ideas in mind that were brought up here, So I would say just think about what needs something beyond your ears, right? I always tell people to take ear breaks, but also to share with other people, to hear what other people have to say before it's done. Because like at a certain point, like we're biased towards ourselves in both a positive and negative way. That's why I always say take ear breaks, because if you're doing like 5 hours of mixing, no one's going to like their own music after 5 hours of that one song. Yeah. And then you'll start feeling insecure about it because you've heard it for so long that you hate it yourself, and then you think everyone else is going to hate it, And this is just the shit that the feedback loop that we put ourselves through of being overcritical in a isolated bubble. We need when we get out of our own head, we realize that it's not as dark out there as we think it is by ourselves, so take something that you think needs something else that you are unsure of, whether it's half done, 75% done, 99% done, whatever. Even if it's just like, how's the mix? Like, I'm mixing this right now. I'm done recording. How's it going to sound? What should I do for this bass line as far as like very specific, like compression? I don't know. But like something that you are having trouble achieving on your own that could benefit from another set of ears or a bunch of sets of ears. It's not like you have to take every piece of advice and do it. It's just like, why not have a plethora of feedback to just be, referenced? That's why I hope at least that's why I'm glad we're starting to save the chat for the group crits, because now they'll be on YouTube. So you can go back and read the chat room, because the chats are super important, because like so many people are referencing stuff and giving links to like other things that it reminds them of or what they think you should listen to push you in the right direction. And that's like super helpful. I was already going back on last week's group crit and checking out some of the recommendations that were given. but it's a safe space, and I mean that. I really mean that. Like the nerves behind it, like it's like you get it over with and you realize it's not a big deal, and then you do it again and it's even easier, you know? But the longer you wait, it's like would you rather go first in a show or last? It's like you don't want to wait too long, because then it just becomes all nerves and no fun. Plus, we have like a big line of people. I'm like a month behind in submissions as far as how often I get to it every week, how many I get to every week, and how many are submitted to the Discord thread. But so you just get in there. You don't have to give much of an art statement, but you should be talking about not the weaknesses behind it, but like what you think, what you're looking for as far as notes of improvement. And people will oblige, you know. If they're assholes, they get booted. That's how it is in my and I am king. This is my monarchy. It's a democratic monarchy, but I'm still the emperor.
Top Gun.
I hope that helps. Because I do want to. I want to hear.
I need to just get in there.
I want to hear your shit. Yeah, just get in there.
Yeah. Yes. Sick.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Jacob.
Man.
Stay warm. Go Raptors.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sports. Yes.
Sports.
Toronto. Canada.
Sports. Dun, 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 dun. Sports. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Well, y'all have a great day. I got
to go pee. All right, go pee. Have a good one, bro. Peace. Who's up? Who else is up?
Hi, I figured out my mic.
Hey, yo. Isaac, right? No?
Yes.
Isaac. Yes, I was trying to remember with your Discord handle. Welcome. How you doing, bro?
Doing good.
I saw your message and I was going to answer it in the chat, but if you're here,
I thought I wasn't going to be able to make it, but I decided not to do my homework. That's already a week late anyway. So
nice. I would tisk you if I was on the clock with my students right now, but I'm not, and I'm not your paid professor. So nice. What's going on? How are you? Where are you calling from? Where are you calling? I like doing this.
I'm calling in from sunny South Dakota.
Yes.
Worst state of the union.
I wouldn't say that. You got space. There's space.
We do.
There's land.
We got plenty of space. That's what we got.
That's what people like. They like space. They like the plains.
I like the space.
I feel like
it's good for me.
If you read too much Cormac McCarthy, the space and the plains become ominous. So you have to stick with like positive, like young adult horse novels.
Being able to see the like 360 degrees of horizon at all times, it really gets to you. You got to be in the right mental state for it.
For real. I feel like I would just do a lot of mushrooms.
We've all been there.
I would be one with the sun. How are you? What's going on?
So I'm glad I wrote it down in the chat because I'm bad at expressing myself sometime. But so my question is, what are some like kind of effective ways to market music, especially like underground stuff that's not quite as mainstream type music, like experimental music. What's the best way to get it heard by other people that enjoy experimental music?
So when we're talking about experimental, we mean not new music, not like classical avant-garde, but like underground electronic or...
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because by default, we have to admit that we're making like unmarketable music by the majority standards of what we constitute the music industry.
Definitely, yeah.
So it's like I, for one, have fall into the professor role because half of our favorite composers in history were just professors as well. You know, it's like just the thing that people do, right? Because we have to admit that, like, we're not gonna sell out Madison Square Garden with our drone, you know. That being said, when it comes down to experimental music, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, because I am turning 30 in a month, so that's not like a young person. But when I was initially starting making experimental music for the public, like 15 years ago or whatever, the blogosphere, like independent publications, starting with blogs like Tumblrs and Blogspots, were the go-to place for where I would find new music. Now, a lot of this shit has been absorbed into platform capitalism. So there's like, now, what is there? Medium, and there are podcasts dedicated to this shit. But like, I don't know how strong the blogosphere is nowadays, but like websites that used to be the place that I would submit my shit to would be like, what's it called? Tiny Mixtapes, Pigeons and Planes. You ever heard of these places? Even like Brooklyn Vegan.
No, I'm
these
writing
are all
them down.
Yeah, these are, well, Tiny Mixtapes unfortunately is no longer as of 2020, unfortunately.
Rip.
Yeah, but they were, for about 10 years I had a writer friend there that would put me in his outsider editorial review every week. Like he had a weekly editorial that he would talk about the music that he liked that wasn't being that wasn't his normal his normal review gig of mostly like indie and like hip hop stuff. So I was like, I knew a writer. And that was how I got a lot of reviews in like the 2010s on Tiny Mixtapes specifically. So it comes down to the community of people that you surround yourself with, starting with, in your case, and in all of our cases right now, because we're doing everything in isolation, is who you know online. And who you can reach out to, who is approachable online. Because in my case, knowing some writers was really the way that I was able to like get my own music out there. And like when I was doing some like music nonprofit work, like get it written up in Fader, like a few different things, a few different projects I was working on, able to get proper press related to who I knew who was writing, and so now with Twitter, you can find most music journalists at most levels of their, profession, whether they be writing full time for Rolling Stone or whether they just run their own, Patreon review blog situation, or they're like Anthony Fantano, somewhere in the middle, not to say that he's a writer, quote unquote, but you know what I'm saying.
So I guess a follow-up question to that would be, I definitely do know a few, music journalists who are reach-outable to. What's the common courtesy because I know nothing's for free.
Yeah.
So if I hit up a guy and I'm like, hey man, check out my music, would it be gauche if I asked, is there some sort of consideration fee? Or
well, that's the thing.
Or is that just not really how it normally?
It's not really how it works, because if they're working for a publication, it's expected to be their job. And for freelance writers, they pitch to their editors something, in this case your album, based on how they're going to write about it. And if the editor gives them the green light, then they get paid for the article from the publication. So they'll get
Well,
paid.
that's good to hear.
They'll get paid. They'll get paid to write about you based on the publication they're writing for. You know, like I've done a few interviews. I've given a few interviews and written a few articles that I've pitched for a couple websites. Like Soundfly is this like music education website, platform, journal thing. And half the time they pitch me an idea or a few ideas, and I choose one from their potential hypothetical pitches, and I'm like, I'll work with this one. Or I'll approach them with something entirely different. Like, I want to do an interview with this person, or I've been recording. Like, I did one in 2019 where I was just recording the protests in Puerto Rico when we like outed our governor. And I wanted to write it from like a sound studies journalism perspective. And so I just approached them with like, I've been doing these field recordings. I'm going to write an essay about it. Can you publish it? And will you pay me for it? And their answer was yes. So cool. From the writer's perspective, if they're working under an umbrella of a somewhat funded journal or institution, they're good if they get the green light. You don't have to, as the artist reaching out initially, you don't have to provide them anything other than a copy of the record. So like, don't give them your Bandcamp link. Give them the WAV files. You know, send them the Google Drive download link. You know, but don't think that like you have to, you know, grease some pockets in order to you know, if they're you know, into the work, then they should want to cover it because it's their job to present it to their editors and then present it to their readers. You know, they're the ones that's going to make it super sexy. Now, that being said, like having a nice little press kit ready to go after you reach out to the writer to be like, hey, you know, initially be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, or if you know them, hey, what's up? Like, I got this thing. Can I send you my latest materials? And if they say yes, you send them the recording, but you should also send them, in the very least, an artist statement, little press material for it. You know, a digital press kit, a DPK, is the idea that you send them basically a folder with the artwork, conceptual and releasable artwork, as well as a readable booklet with your, you know, what you want the journalist, the press, to know about the record. You know, whether it's the, you know, this was recorded, you know, from a mental institution by a crazy man, like you know, like
recovered from the back rooms.
Exactly. Recovered from the back rooms of Ed Gein's basement, you know, like after he murdered 1,000 people, you know, like if you want to, if you were doing if you were doing a concept album, that's what you would tell them, right? Or in your case, you would tell them like who you are as the artist, but give a proper artist statement on a release, meaning like, not only talk about how it was made, but why it was made. You know, the how and the why is really important. I always talk about content versus context and how can you include both in something that you're not only sharing with someone who could take that and put it in their own words and write about it, but also you're just going to put it on your own Bandcamp eventually. You'll want to include that as well, you know? But in this case, like you want to seek out premieres, you know, where you haven't publicized it yet, you haven't published it, and you want this blog or this local paper or this, you know, online magazine to be the first person to talk about it, and then you take that article and be like, album premiere, you know, and then you post it on your Bandcamp with that attached link on all of your social media as like, here's what so-and-so is saying about it. Click on this link to read the article as well as download it. They'll
gives it some legitimacy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is legitimacy in just DIY releasing, you know, like that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the Bandcamp Friday, like stories, like marathon that I just like send me your albums and I will publish it, because like it should all just be in a place that like people can scroll through it. And it's like, we're all financially most of us not doing great, and like this is legitimate because we pressed publish, we pressed export, like that's enough for you to at least like give it the time of day as far as I'm concerned. But like obviously like legitimacy of a publication can be can morph with your own DIY marketing online, but
thanks.
I hope
that's
that
pretty
helps.
helpful. It's a little bit late because the album I just released it like a couple weeks ago, so it's late for like a premiere type situation. But
right,
it's something I'll have to start looking into like before the next release is doing some sort of like pre farming it out to publications possibly.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think like once the album is like done and mixed, like whether you want to DIY release it or hold off and shop it to some writers, potentially labels, like beyond your own Bandcamp, like even if it's just another web label that could do their own, that has a bigger Instagram or social media following than you, that could market it. Like that's all that we're talking about here. All we're really talking about is like just getting the word out where people are gonna see it, and that's social media.
Yeah, I'm just so not a business major, so all this stuff is so
neither
weirdly
am I.
Stressful.
No, totally. Neither am I. I'm not great at this, but at the same time, like I said at the beginning, like I've made my peace with the fact that my music isn't going to be my main source of income, and it's not going to, pay for me to fly me out to blah 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 anytime soon.
Well, I am anticipating that to happen pretty soon.
Well, don't be. You're younger than me. You have the energy to actually apply yourself in that regards. I'm way too tired for that. But you are not. You are in school, right? You are young enough to, especially on that post college drive, put in the grind. Put in the grind. You're gonna, once COVID is over, I know you're gonna be looking at other places to move to potentially. But even if you're not doing that immediately, like think about like your immediate states, vicinities that you could do some touring, because you can potentially like not lose money on your first tour if you have, merch and know the right people that could get some sort, even like DIY venues that pass the hat, like most of the tours that I went on doing DIY venues, like I wouldn't lose money. I would maybe make like only $50, but that would be after paying for gas and after, my time, you know what I mean? It's a labor of love, obviously, but like you should aim for grassroots marketing, AKA playing shows and meeting people IRL. But once we're able to do that,
that's the plan.
That's the plan. Because I know like the north and in the plains, I mean, like Fargo's got the weirdos, there are places.
Fargo's got a noise scene. That's true.
I mean, but those, and there are definitely noise traditionalists out there, but like the fact that exists means that there's a wide enough variety to like reach out to some people for at least some, IRL community type, when you decide to like gig out a project,
Yeah. Thanks.
So there you go. No problem, my friend. Hope you have a good one, Isaac.
Yeah, you too.
Anybody else want to chat? We've been doing this over an hour now. This is great. I'm really enjoying this shit. Who's here?
Hey. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. What's up? Merrick or Marek?
Merrick.
Merrick, how are you, Merrick? Where are you calling from?
Calling from Canada, kind of southern Canada, close to Toronto.
Oh, nice. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm enjoying the the community. It's nice to be part of the Discord and
Oh,
read
fucking A.
and chat
I
and all
appreciate
that. Yeah.
I appreciate your participation, you know?
Hmm.
Because I barely have time to check it all the time, but then I'm always seeing people posting it.
Yeah. You seem very busy because, like, I mean,
You know, now at this point,
that's very good.
I love the Patreon, but it is a part-time job, so like I'm putting in hours. I want to be beholden to you.
Yeah, fair enough.
What's going on?
Yeah, so I guess, like, I don't have a particular question per se, but it's more I just wanted to, like, share where I'm at musically, I guess, and
Yeah.
see if you have any thoughts or advice or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, like, in a position that I guess I feel a little different from everyone because, like, I kind of got into music late. Like, I'm not so much a musician. I mean, I've been learning piano for about a year, and I listen to lots of music and all that, but in high school I did drama, and I didn't do music back then,
Right.
and then it wasn't until university, I'm 28 now, by the way. It wasn't until university where I was, like, exposed to actual musicians and, like, seeing scenes and being like, whoa, this is a thing. And I'm like, and it kind of just, like, built up in me, and now it's, like, all being released, and I'm just, like, trying to learn whatever I can.
Hell yeah.
And
28 is not.
collecting
28 isn't old.
yeah. No, I realize that. Because I'm meeting people that are older than me as well, and, like,
Yeah.
seeing their progress and being like, oh yeah, like, this person's 7 years older than me. In 7 years, I'm sure I could accomplish a good amount of stuff. So
When I was at undergraduate at City University of New York, that school in particular has reputation of, like, bringing in literally every age of student, and that applied in the conservatory as well as just, like, the stereotype is, like, the grandmas auditing a class in Hunter College in Manhattan or whatever. But I was in composition program with people like 20 years older than me,
oh wow.
who weren't even necessarily musicians when they were my age, but were got into it out of a school environment, and then became, quote unquote, or became professional musicians in that they were serious about it, doing shows and stuff, but then deciding in their late 30s or whatever that they wanted a proper music education behind it. So it's like there's no end to being a student. You should always consider yourself, especially an art student. Any artist that says, like, I've reached my knowledge capacity and now I will create the perfect work, it's bullshit, right?
Yeah. That's funny. That's good to hear, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So, and, like, in terms of, like, what I'm learning, like, I mean, I don't really know yet what I want to make. I'm still in that very, like, experimental phase of just, like, working out. I know I'm really into, like, drone, and I really like jazz, especially, like, odd experimental jazz or just stuff that's different. So I'm trying to learn, like, Western music theory and Western music practices, but I also don't want to, like, stop there. I don't want to be limited to that. So I don't know. It's kind of tricky. It feels tricky to, like, know where to go. I feel like I'm kind of just wandering through blindly.
Right.
Just be like, oh, this seems like something good to learn. And there's like so much to learn. And I wish I could learn everything, but you have to pick things one at a time, or at least, like,
for sure,
in some kind of order.
Yeah, because like there is like an order of theory that the way that it's taught in, like, the college setting, that's like the quote unquote, like, music fundamentals setting, where, like, we're turning you into the well-rounded musician by the time you graduate, because you are going to learn theory 1 through 4, you know. And you know that means, at least the way you divide that is like, first, like intro or theory 101 is kind of paired with like keyboard 101, and that, like, you know, just learning about the 12 notes and, you know, intervals and inversions and chords, circle of fifths, you know, this, like the very fundamentals of and this is again Western music, right? Like 12 music with 12 potential half steps. But theory 2 and 3 in this category would be like 17th and 18th and 19th century music, like classic Baroque period to classical to Romanticism and post-Romanticism, which is like all leading up to 20th century. And the 20th century is like the time where the world realized that like other shit exists outside, or at least like quote unquote classical high art music in the Western world, realized that like the rules are meant to be broken or destroyed because like the world was being destroyed, you know, like both wars had such a huge impact on music theory, specifically, like, you know, atonality, post-tonality, serialism, all being created pre and during fascism and you know, as also like just modern art in general, modernism playing a huge part in during and before that time. And, you know, obviously fascist traditionalists are like anti-modernists in the sense that like Schoenberg and atonality and serialism is, you know, cultural Bolshevism, you know, triple parentheses, right? You know, we have to go back to Romanticism and the true ways of classical art and in music in that way. So like theory is so tricky in the 20th century because everyone has the choice now, like you said, like which direction to go in. We could be traditionalists and learn this way, or we could dedicate ourselves entirely to something entirely new, like jazz, right? Like that was what was happening 100 years ago with musicians and music theorists starting to realize like, oh shit, like we don't have to do this. We don't have to follow quote unquote counterpoint or whatever. So like the decision is made of like what aesthetic direction do you want to go in, because there's enough theory to back up most of it that will, in the very least, beyond music fundamentals, push you and train you in a specific or particular aesthetic direction. I would say, because you're already like dabbling in learning like music fundamentals and theory, like you said, you're like playing keys, right? Like that's like that's so important. Like I will say, like I will like toot the traditionalist horn when it comes to foundational skills, because it's like riding a bike. Like it just becomes a part muscle memory. It becomes a part of you, and at least in the very least allows you to articulate the ideas that you might be able to tell by ear, but you can put a word or a term to it that is a term that other people can relate to.
Right.
Because we talk about drone, and you're talking about like in drone, like long tones, like we usually have the root and the fifth. The fifth is such a powerful interval, right? And we know it's a fifth because of music theory. We could also call it a power chord if we're talking contemporary, or at least like rock and roll terminology, right? And that becomes terms that we can bounce off of each other and at least like have a language that we can, you know, the fundamentals provide us with some common language that even beyond that, if none of us are following the same rules or methodologies from that point forward, like at least we have the common language of fundamentals that we can fall back on, at least try to relate to, as Westerners. Again, we have to put this in the context as Westerners, right?
Yeah,
if I am
like
in
the people around us, like
the people around us in the northern hemisphere, in Americas and Europe and the whole colonized academic world, to be honest. But if we're in India, classical music means something entirely different. And like, I've even posted a TikTok of like those solfeggio scale exercises for voice. And we're not talking do, re, mi, fa, so, you know what I mean? We're talking about specific modes that are called entirely different terms because it's of an entirely different classical music theory that's non-Western. And that's super legit. But India didn't colonize the world. And that is why their classical music is not the quote unquote world standard, right? Right. But yada yada yada. You're old enough that you know what you want artistically, aesthetically, at least the direction you want to go in. Which, when you're a freshman, 18-year-old, or even younger than that, taking piano lessons, you're not going to know what you want as a artistic career or output yet. And you also won't necessarily want to do the shit that's not as fun as just shredding, right? Learning music theory, learning piano chops, learning music theory is objectively less fun than just jamming. But it will, in turn, benefit the jam in the long run. Even just some basic keyboard chops, it's going to make your synthesizer skills that much more applicable and listenable beyond just the experimentation, like actually forming into composition or improvising to a form that is spontaneous but a trained form, right? Because as improvisers, all we are is just the amalgamation of our knowledge. Improvisation is just spontaneously utilizing our knowledge, our Rolodex of tools, right? Like even free improvisation people that are like, my training is not at all traditional and I'm anti-traditionalist and I want to be just completely against how you would normally play this instrument. That is a rule that they taught themselves through practice, right? That's knowledge that they taught themselves, theory that they've self-theorized for their own practice, but that when they're improvising, they're just recalling that. There's no such thing as free improvisation unless you're what, a baby? like you literally don't have a developed brain. Like, I don't know. Like that new.
I'm starting to notice that myself. Because like the whole knowledge thing. Because like the main thing I do on keyboard is like when I sit down, like even when I'm trying to practice, I easily get distracted by improvising. I'll just like start hitting some notes here and there.
Yeah.
And I'll learn a scale and then I'll start like hitting I guess random intervals in the scale, but rhythmically to different dynamics. So I do that, but then I started to learn just very, very basics of harmony. And now I'm like starting to like, I'm actually noticing like certain things as I'm hitting.
Yeah, so, like the improvisation skills become that much more improved upon because you've just added to you're literally in Resident Evil and you have a backpack and you're playing Tetris in your backpack of tools, right? And now you're combining your this potion and that potion and the other potion, and it's going to create a triple health boost, which will, in this case, allow you to play this XYZ harmony with that much more precision. I just want to play the new Resident Evil. I'm sorry. Was literally watching like a playthrough earlier today. You know what I'm saying though? Like, this is the Rolodex of ideas, your tool shed of ideas and skills will be recalled upon when you're improvising and when you're pre-planning and when you're composing. You know, composing, you're much more consciously like, oh, here we could use a dominant seventh. And you'll recall that with your ears and with your theory terminology, right? But more importantly, I've always been an ear training proponent first and foremost. So like, you should have a ear proponent to your theory proponent at all times. Don't just look at it on sheet music. Hear it. You know, hear it and play it. Because the more you play it, it's like writing notes, like muscle memory. It's like riding a bike. Like, you just associate the sound with the way you played it with the term. It becomes like the trifecta of knowledge. You know how to play it. You know what it sounds like in your head before you play it. And you know what it's called. You know? And again, you don't have to learn everything. The fundamentals are important. But like, push yourself in the direction aesthetically that you want to go in. If you're playing ambient drone music, you should look up, you know, in the very beginning, at the very least, like a minimalist approach to like romanticism, because Debussy and Satie and Chopin, like the proto-minimalists, romanticists, you know, the guys that were playing 1-4-5 chord progressions in classical music and repeating that over and over and over again before pop music existed, you know, that's romanticism. I wouldn't necessarily say like, oh, like drill yourself in, you know, secondary dominance. That shit gets, you know, tedious as fuck from the theory perspective, but at least train your ears in the music that inspired the drone minimalist ambient people, you know, because like Satie, Debussy, those are the foundations for Eno and, you know, even Terry Riley, even, you know, Steve Reich and Lamont Young, you know, I would say Satie specifically. I don't know how much Satie you listen to, but as a piano player and someone studying piano now, his pieces are so minimal and simple to learn that it was a motivator for me in piano lessons to learn his pieces, because it was quote unquote classical score that I could learn traditionally, that I liked as a listener, not as a piano student. I don't know if you've heard of like the Gymnopodes and the Nociens series.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the first one. I think that's a really famous one.
Look up Nocien. I'll put it in the chat for you here.
Sure.
In the office hours chat. Nociens. I think that's how you spell it. Satie.
Okay.
But the first one of that is like that really classic, dramatic, super sad modal piece that's like da 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 da. That shit is so easy to play on the piano, and you feel like a fucking rock star when you learn it, because it's like the most post-rock, like really, really quiet, really, really loud, dynamic, like emo, emotional instrumental shit you could possibly do. And it's mostly, you know, 1-4-5 inverted chords with some nice little, you know, romantic dissonance occasionally in there, but it's super minimal. I would check that shit out, and push yourself in that direction as a foundation, theory foundation for minimalist ambient drone electronic music. Because, like, you know, dollars to donuts, as they say, if Eric Satie was around nowadays, like, I think he would be a you know, sound, like a synthesis, sound healing, you know, like guru, because he was such a weirdo. He would be like a sound healing grifter on Instagram, like using tuning bowls and Ableton and modular synths to like make, like, you know, some bizarre occult drone music, you know.
heal people through their computers.
Yeah, or curse them. You know, he wasn't always a benevolent healer. He was malevolent and a strange guy. If you crossed him, you know, he carried a hammer around for a reason, as they say. Literally, he carried a hammer. Yeah, listen to some more Satie, learn some scores of his. Approach the piano if you're using that as your fundamentals tool. Approach it in a way from a fundamentals traditional perspective that you at least can aesthetically jive with.
Right.
That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Yeah.
But now I want to listen to Satie too. Thanks, Merrick. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
John, you wrote in the chat, but you can come on if you want. I can also just read your. Are you here, John?
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, John? How are you, bro?
Oh, pretty good. Just, in the OR.
In the OR? Are you a doctor?
Pseudo. Not really.
A pseudo doctor? Where are you at? What do you do?
Jersey. I make like preliminary diagnoses in cancer. So right now they're setting up for a biopsy, and I'll tell them if they're in the hypothetical tumor or not.
Wow, that's some heavy shit. Some heavy shit.
Gotta diversify.
That's definitely How can you
diversify your bonds?
How can you relate this to your music practice? That's what I want to know. Heal people.
I think there's I think that's done, through repetition. A lot of medicine nowadays is viewed as like, this person went above and beyond, and this person got this experimental treatment and it saved them, and that's what you hear about, but that's not the reality of it.
Of course.
It, like music, like anything else, is really a labor, and not that it's requires physical strength, and that it is monotonous and sometimes, of all things, boring. But the end result speaks for the labor that is put in.
Totally. I know some people, like one of my mentors in college he had a stroke and obviously had to go through a lot of physical therapy afterwards, and he's a composer, conductor, and so they had conducting exercises as part of his PT. And power of music is obviously, like, from the mental health perspective, very, very beneficial, and spiritual as well. But like physical health, like you said, like whether it's something like a miracle or if it's a labor. In this case, it was a labor. He was basically taking drum lessons to get the right side of his arm working again, and it worked in that way. So can never doubt music therapy combination with actual physical and medicinal purposes in that way. But anyways, that's awesome that you do that, man. What's going on?
I feel like you can relate that back to drone, and you had a good thing that was, I was like, does music need a rhythm? You were like, no, but it needs a pulse. I'm moving down to New Jersey, it's New Jersey, so it's a weird place. A lot of my new friends are noise musicians. Mm-hmm. So I find it very fun trying to listen to their music and find a pulse in it.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. I feel like if you're like a trad noise person, you're not gonna, if you hear rhythm or pulse or melody or harmony, it's like, no, it's not noise. Which is silly. I don't care about putting up the boundaries and shit like that. But yeah, no, talking about pulse, talking about like the repetition and healing aspects of sounds. Yeah, I mean, think of like an LFO and what we have, like a sound bath healing, sound healing people now, whether you want to call them legitimate or not, whether you want to call it legitimate or not. Like I think listening to a low sine wave through an LFO on a subwoofer is a healing meditative practice for me. It's, even if it's just a bowel cleanser, that makes me want to go to the bathroom because it's so bassy. There's something that could be said about, you know, repetition and slowly repeating a pulse or a pitch or something like that, whether it's a drone or a percussive rhythm or something like that, you know. My grandfather's super into like drum healing. He used to do that stuff in prison education work, like working with prisoners and doing drum circles with like primal screaming and shit. Really out there stuff, really therapeutic stuff. What's going on with you musically? How can I be of service today?
I don't know. I got well, I mean, like I was traditionally a drummer. I just hit a studio out in Trenton and recorded, you know, drums for the first time in a long time. And I'm, you know, so I'm sending that to all these people that I'm casually collaborating with, and it's a very weird thing.
Right.
Growing up playing punk rock and always playing live music, and then going to, you know, you're in your 20s, whatever, you just kind of produce music on your laptop, and then trying to get back into that studio-based band, it's really feels anti-collaborative. Doing work, sending it to someone, getting it sent back, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this is a weird time for everybody, but like especially for folks that are so dependent on the collaborative aspects of music making, like improvisers, instrumentalists in jazz or experimental music, or even any sort of band, any sort of live band experience, although there wouldn't be touring as well, but like just playing together, you know, it's a completely different mindset that puts you in that live energy that is such a high, it's such a rush, like that serotonin boost. Like I'm absolutely on like I'm absolutely self-diagnosed on the autism spectrum, because when I play loud music with people and I get that fucking rush, like my hands just start like flapping like crazy. Like it's like a physical reaction that I have that I am incapable, like a tick, of stopping when I'm like in that zone. But it only happens usually with other people in a live IRL context, right? Haven't been able to get that beyond my imagination while in quarantine, you know? Haven't really tried the Zoom collaborative live experience because it's just not, I don't know. I feel that disconnect as well. So yeah, I mean, it's difficult trying to get back in the studio now. I mean, like, what is your, I'm just going back to the what you wrote just to like reference it. Percussion, voice were the basis of music, as you know, all we had for music for generations. But I saw a post about shell horns. How do you make studio recorded drums sound more organic? Reverb on the toms ain't cutting it. Little distortions helping. Interesting. You're talking about working from home though, like actually trying to mimic a live feeling with like.
Yeah, with, you know, drums recorded after the fact. Right. You know, that's the issue with the live, is you have that
passing it back and forth
of the tempo. Exactly. Right. And
passing it back and forth.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, that's why it seems to be working only as like a conductor led or a band leader led Zoom multi-track recording process, where like you have somebody leading it via video and you can catch their energy, and they have to be the ones that's bringing it because they'll inspire you to bring it. But like if we're just doing it by audio stems without seeing each other, talking to each other, and it's just like, here's my track, can you record on top of it? Yeah, like near impossible to get that energy back. And I don't know. There isn't a specific answer to regain that energy. I think verbal communication is really important, you know, like it's all we have right now, since we can't be physical and look at each other and give each other that stare when we're playing, that, you know, we both know exactly what that stare means when we're improvising together or playing together, but you can't convey that in post-production recording process, right? So like we have to be able to talk or write about it to each other, which is again why we're doing all this shit in this, these channels. Cause like it's important, even if we're not playing music as collaborators together, but just co-listeners, like musicians all out there in the ether working together by ourselves in a way. We still need to be able to talk through ideas, because we won't be able to play it through IRL live, and it's a good practice to be like, to be able to talk about the quote vibe that you're trying to achieve in a recording, without hearing it, just talking about it, but this is all just a big elaborate alternative to what we really need, which is just people IRL talking to each other, or playing with each other, collaborating live, in person. 'Cause Zoom obviously doesn't have the lagless setup yet. They have like pro audio mode, but it doesn't mean anything. It just means stereo recording.
Oh, true.
Stereo recording and multi-track recording, but there's still a lag. There's no way to get it perfect unless everybody has the same amazing fucking internet. And even that isn't perfect. So yeah, it's rough. I don't want to be bleak out there. I don't want to be bleak, but like everybody knows it's bleak.
It's reality.
It's reality right now, which is why I've been saying, like, anybody saying they're living their best life right now cannot be trusted. Cannot be trusted. That person doesn't value human life, or doesn't value the mental health of their peers. Because it's like, yeah, I'm going out. Fucking brunch. I need brunch. I need it.
It's all there is to life for some people is brunch.
Apparently it's like I violently need brunch, according to them. Like, Jesus Christ. It's like, I need this normalcy, okay? I need this. Fuck off. You're working in a fucking cancer ward or whatever. That shit, like, you're seeing real life problems right there. Everybody is struggling mentally. I get it. But we got to keep perspective.
I think that's it. If for our social sanity, we need to play live music with people. For other people, it's going to brunch. You gotta. Everyone needs to be able to have a little bit. Just because your needs are simple doesn't mean that they should take priority. I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna get at it, Max. It's a really good talk, though.
Yo, good to talk to you, my friend. I'll talk to you soon, John.
Hopefully.
Peace, buddy. All right, I have to run. We could do maybe one more quick one if anyone else wants to chat. But otherwise, this has been so real. We've been talking for over an hour and a half. Really, really fantastic talks and questions. Really appreciate all of this. Let's get this shit sponsored. Let's get this shit like a real podcast. Let's get this shit fucking sponsored by some dope ass music shop or pedal company or something, because like, I don't want to be plugging Anchor.fm, Spotify, podcast distributors. I want this shit to be broadcast to the masses, or let's just get more patrons and have more people join the conversation. I appreciate you guys. You guys are fucking dope. Let's do this again in 2 weeks, if not sooner. I appreciate you guys. Let's chat soon. Peace, y'all.